Her hands were on the rolling door. 74 years old. 2 knuckles bent the wrong way, and she was holding on anyway. The auctioneer turned to the crowd. He told them she was back. 3rd month running. 20 people laughed into their coffee. Nobody there knew who her daughter was. And one man stepped out of the line. He had the least money of anyone standing on that concrete. Take a second to like this video and subscribe. It helps more than you know. And leave a comment telling us where in the world you are watching from right now. Dale Rusk let the laugh run its course. He had timing. 30 years working the front of these crowds had taught him that. A crowd needs a beat before the punchline. Even a crowd made of concrete and orange doors. Everything in there is somebody's whole life, he said, until the door goes up. They laughed again, louder this time. It was true. It was funny. And none of them were the ones standing at the door. Wade Mercer did not laugh. He was near the back of the line, paper cup going cold in his hand. He was doing math. 4 units on the sheet this morning. 3 were climate-controlled. That meant furniture, which meant weight, which meant a truck he did not want to pay for twice. The 4th was a drive-up on the B row. The woman was standing in front of it. Lorne Petty came out of the office. He held his clipboard against his chest like a shield. He was young for the job. He had the kind of face that apologized before his mouth did. "Ma'am," he said, "I need you to step back from the door." She did not answer. Her hands stayed where they were, hooked under the bottom edge of the metal. The skin over her knuckles was thin and spotted. The tendons stood up like wire. "Ma'am, please." Lorne set the clipboard down on the pavement. He took her wrists, one at a time. He did it the way you move something you are afraid of breaking. Then he walked her backward 3 steps. She let him. That was the part Wade would remember later. That she let him. That she did not fight. That she had done this before and knew exactly how far back 3 steps was. The canvas bag slid off her shoulder and hit the ground. Nobody moved for it. 20 people watched a bag fall and stayed where they were. Wade heard his own boots on the concrete before he had decided to walk. He crouched and picked it up. The zipper had come open halfway. Inside, there was money. Not a wallet, not an envelope. Loose bills folded into a brick and held with a rubber band. 1s and 5s on the outside, the edges gone soft as cloth from being counted. Under the money was a stack of letters with the tops slid open, and the paper was the cheap kind that goes gray at the folds. He closed the zipper. He held the bag out to her. "Ma'am." She took it with both hands and pulled it against her chest. "Thank you," she said. Her voice was steady, but she was still counting. He could see it in her eyes. That small movement of somebody adding a column again to make sure it comes out the same. He went back to the line. He should have stayed there. He knew it even then. He had $2,200 in his front pocket, folded in half and pressed flat. It was everything Mercer Salvage had left in the world. 3 months behind on the shop rent. A landlord who had stopped being polite in April. Wade needed a good unit this morning. Appliances, tools, one clean estate lot he could turn in 6 weeks. He needed it today. Everybody on that concrete knew it. Because in this business, everybody knows everything about everybody. Behind him, a truck went by out on Gantry Road. Long trailer, white. A name across the side in blue letters. Wade did not look up. He had been seeing that name on that road every morning for 11 years. He pulled out his phone and opened the sheet. B14, 10 by 20, drive up. Then he heard her voice behind him, low and even, aimed at Lorne. What if I pay it now? Lorne did not answer. Young man, what if I pay all of it, right now, before you start? Wade turned around. So did 4 or 5 other people. Dale Rusk turned too, slowly, still holding his coffee, and the look that went across his face was not annoyance. It was closer to interest. Ma'am, we've been through this, Lorne said. We have been through October, and we have been through November. She was not raising her voice. She never raised it once, the whole morning. Every time you tell me the same thing, and every time I go home and I get a little more. So I am asking you again. I would like the number. Lorne looked at his clipboard. He looked at the office. Then he looked at Dale Rusk. It was fast. Wade caught it. At the time, it meant nothing to him at all. 1440, Lorne said. She nodded once, like she had guessed something close to that, and was pleased with herself for guessing well. Then she knelt down on the concrete, right there in the middle of the yard, with 20 people watching. She opened the bag, and she started to count. The office smelled like burnt coffee and floor cleaner. There was a vending machine against the back wall. Somebody had taped a sheet of paper over the coin slot that said, out of order. The paper had gone yellow, so it had been out of order a long time. Lorne got behind the counter. The counter helped him. Wade had watched men do that his whole life. I'll read it out, Lorne said, so there's no confusion. 5 months rent, that's $975. Late fees, $240. Lock, cut, and replacement, $60. Advertising and listing for the sale, $165. He looked up. $1440. Ruth Calloway set the canvas bag on the counter. She took out the brick of bills. She snapped the rubber band off it. She counted it in front of him. Wade stood inside the door with his back against the glass and watched her do it. She licked her thumb every 4th bill. She made 2 piles, hundreds and everything else. When she was done, she squared the edges with both hands and counted the whole thing a second time, slower. 210, she said. Lorne looked at the money on his counter. He did not touch it. I can bring the rest, she said. Not today, but I can bring it. Ma'am, the sale is in 40 minutes. Then take this now and hold the unit. Put it toward the number. I'll sign whatever you want me to sign. I can't take a partial. It's the whole thing or it's nothing. He turned the clipboard around. He did it gently, the way a doctor turns a chart. That's not me. That's the paperwork. Is this you, Calloway? That's my husband. R. Calloway. Raymond. She was putting the money back in the bag as she said it. She said it the way people say a thing they have said 1,000 times and stopped hearing. That's his lease. He rented it before he passed. Lorne wrote something down. He did not ask a single question about it. The sentence went by and landed on nobody. It sat there in that room for the rest of the morning, and nobody picked it up. The door opened behind Wade. Dale Rusk leaned in halfway. Not enough to be in the room, enough to be heard in it. Wade Mercer. Dale smiled at him. It was a good smile. That was the trouble with Dale. He had a good smile, and he used it on everybody equally. You buying today or feeling today? Haven't decided. I'll decide before the bell. Dale looked past him, at the woman, at the $210 going back into the bag. His face did not change at all. You can't run a shop on feelings, son. Your daddy could have told you that. He let the door swing shut. Lorne stood very still for a second after Dale was gone. Then he took a folded piece of paper out of his shirt pocket. He looked at it. He put it back in the same pocket and pressed the flap down flat with 2 fingers. Wade went outside. He walked past the line, past the row of pickups. He got into his own truck and shut the door. And the noise of the yard went down to nothing. $2,200. He knew what a good drive-up went for on a Saturday like this. $600. $7 if 2 men wanted it. He knew that with the rest he could clear the back rent and have a float going into the fall. He knew the exact date the landlord had put on the letter. He knew what the sign over his door said. His father had painted it by hand and had put both of their names on it. Wade had never gotten around to taking the second name off. He sat there about a minute. Then he got out and went back into the office and put the money on the counter. $14.40, he said. Ruth Calloway turned around and looked at him. "Sir," she said, "it's not a loan, so don't start there. I did not ask you for anything." "No, ma'am, you didn't." She looked at the money, then at his hands, then at his face. She was reading him the way he read a unit, standing in the doorway before the bidding, working out what was in the back of it. "Why?" she said. Wade thought about it. He wanted to give her a real answer. She had earned a real one, and anything smaller would have been an insult. "I've been buying other people's storage for 19 years, he said. "I've opened maybe 400 of them. And every single time, the first thing I see is somebody's whole life, sorted by how heavy it was to carry." He shrugged. This is the first one where the person is still standing there. Lorne counted the bills. He counted them twice, which took time. When he finished, he squared them and put a paperclip on them and did not put them in the drawer. "Okay," he said. "Okay. I have to run this in the back. There's a form. There's a code I have to void in the system, and I have to call it in to the auctioneer so he pulls the unit off the sheet." "How long?" Wade said. 10 minutes. Lorne was already moving. "Wait out front, both of you. 10 minutes. He went through the door behind the counter. It closed after him. Wade heard the lock go over. The sign appeared in the window about 4 minutes later. It was laminated. It had been used many times. Somebody inside hung it on a suction cup hook that was already there waiting for it. Closed for inventory. Ruth read it. Then she knocked. 3 times, evenly spaced, the way a person knocks on a door they still believe is going to open. Nothing. Wade knocked harder. He put his fist into it. The glass shook in the frame and the sign swung on its hook. There was a light on in there. He could see it through the frosted panel beside the door. Every so often the light changed, the way light changes when a person walks in front of it. "Lorne!" He hit the glass again. "Lorne, you've got her money!" A man came over from the line. Marty something. Wade had bid against him for years and had never once learned his last name. He had a coffee in one hand and a phone in the other, and he was already looking past Wade at the B row. "They do that," Marty said. "Do what?" "Close up before the sale." "Every month, man." He said it kindly. He was not being cruel. That was somehow worse. They lock the office so people can't come running in at the last second with a check that bounces. Nothing personal in it. Then he walked off toward the crowd. The crowd was moving. The auctioneer had come out of his van and was carrying his little speaker on a strap. Ruth sat down on the concrete step in front of the office. She did it carefully, holding the rail, the way a person sits when sitting down is a project. Wade sat on the step below her. "I fell in March," she said. He had not asked. "In my own kitchen. I was reaching for a pan I have had for 40 years. I know exactly where it is. I fell anyway. Hip, hip. She smoothed her skirt over her knees. 11 weeks in the rehab place out on Colton. They were nice enough. There was a woman there who played piano on Thursdays, and she was not very good. And everybody clapped anyway. She stopped. She was not crying. She was very far from crying. The rent for the unit came out of my account on the 1st of every month, she said, for 9 years. It came out the same way every month since Ray passed, and it never once needed me to do a thing. And then March. And then March. The bank saw a charge from a hospital pharmacy, then a charge from a place I had never been in my life, which was the rehab place. So they decided somebody had got hold of my card, and they froze it. And they were proud of themselves. The young man on the phone told me twice that they had protected me. And the storage payment? Bounced in April. Bounced in May. She looked down the row of orange doors. They sent letters to my house. I was not at my house. I was on Colton, learning to walk down 4 stairs while a therapist held a belt around my middle. Wade did not say anything. By the time I got home, there was a stack of them under the mail slot. I opened them all in one sitting, at the kitchen table, still with the walker. She almost smiled. It took a while. My hands were not good yet. The auctioneer tapped his microphone twice. The sound went across the yard, flat and hard off the metal doors. "Is there anybody you can call?" Wade said. "No." She said it fast, faster than anything else she had said all morning. It came out almost ahead of the question. She heard it herself. Then she looked out at the row of doors and did not add one word to it. Wade let it go. He was 42 years old. He had learned by then that there is a kind of no that means no, and there is a kind that means do not open that. The speaker crackled. "All right, folks. Morning. Thank you for coming out to Ridgeline. 4 units this morning. Cash only. You break it, you buy it. You've got 24 hours to clear it out." The office door opened behind them. Lorne came out with the clipboard against his chest. The paper-clipped stack of bills was in his other hand, held out in front of him like it had gotten hot. "Ma'am?" His voice had gone thin. "I'm real sorry. I got it in the system, but the sale's called. Once he calls it, I can't pull the unit. That's the rule. I can't." Ruth stood up. She held the rail and got herself up off that step without help. She straightened her coat. She took the money from him and put it back in the canvas bag. "All right," she said. That was all. "All right." She started walking toward the B row. Wade got up and went after her. Behind them, the auctioneer was reading off the sheet, and he did not read it in order. He did not start with A9 or A12. "First unit up, we're doing B14. 10 by 20. Drive up. Contents unknown." Wade turned his head and looked for Dale Rusk in the crowd. Dale was not looking at the door. He was looking at his watch. She caught his sleeve halfway down the B row. She put the money into his hand. "Buy it," Ruth said. "Ma'am, you have got it in your pocket already, and now you have got this too. I would rather it went to you than to him." She closed his fingers over the bills with both her hands. Her grip was stronger than it had any right to be. "Buy it, and I will come to your shop and take what I want, and you sell the rest. That is a fair trade. I am not asking for charity. I am offering you a deal." The auctioneer had the door up to about knee height. He was holding a flashlight under it, so the crowd could see the first 4 feet. That was how it worked. You got the doorway. You never got the back. Contents unknown, folks. Tools in there. I see a chest freezer or a fridge. Let's start it at 200. 200. Who wants it? 2. Wade raised his hand. 2. Got 2. Do I hear 3? 3, Dale said. It went in hundreds. That was the first thing Wade noticed. It was the thing everybody else noticed about 10 seconds later. Nobody bids in clean hundreds on a drive-up. You bid 50s. You bid 25s at the end. You drag it out to make the other man think he is close. Dale went in hundreds. Every time. No pause. And he never once looked at the unit. He looked at Wade. 600. 900. 12. By 15, the rest of the yard had stopped bidding and started watching. Marty put his phone up. A woman near the front said something to the man beside her, and he laughed. One short laugh. Then he stopped, because it had gone past the point where it was funny. 18,000. Wade's mouth was dry. He was standing in the sun with everything he owned in his fist. He understood by then exactly what was happening to him. He could not think of one single thing to do about it, except keep going. 21, he said. 22, said Dale. Wade had $2,200. 22, he said. The auctioneer looked at Dale. Dale let it sit. He let it sit long enough for hope to get up off the floor. 23, he said. Same voice he had used for everything else. Nobody said anything. Sold. 2,300. Rusk. Dale did not go get his truck. He handed the auctioneer 3 bundles from a zippered pouch. He took his receipt, folded it, put it in his shirt pocket. Then he walked up to the door of B14. Everything in there is somebody's whole life, he said, until the door goes up. He said it just as loud as the first time. Nobody laughed. He rolled it up. A welding rig, a steel tool chest, the tall kind, red, drawers taped shut, a mini fridge, 2 folding chairs, a mattress standing on its side against the left wall, and boxes, 30 of them maybe, stacked to shoulder height, the cardboard gone soft at the corners. Dale did not load it. He sorted it, right there on the concrete, in front of everyone. He carried things out one at a time and called out what they were worth while he did it. The tool chest, $450, maybe $6 if the drawers were full. The welding rig he would have to see. The mini fridge got a laugh. He set it down and opened it. There was nothing in it but a box of baking soda. The label had faded white with age. He held it up over his head. 2 piles. That was the whole system. A pile that was worth carrying, and a pile that was not. Ruth stood at the edge of the concrete. She watched her life get divided in 2 by a man who was very good at it. 20 phones were up. Wade counted them without meaning to. Dale came out with a cookie tin, Christmas tin, dented on one side, lid held down with a rubber band gone brittle. He shook it next to his ear. Whatever was in there did not rattle. It shifted, all together, soft. Buttons and thread, he said, and threw it over his shoulder into the rolling trash bin. Ruth sat down. She lowered herself onto the concrete beside the second pile, in her coat, in front of everybody. She started going through it with her hands. A photograph frame. a coffee can of screws. She set each thing she wanted in her lap. She did not ask one person for help, and not one person offered. Wade looked at the phones. Then he walked to the bin, put both hands on the rim, and climbed in. It was waist-deep in cardboard and packing foam. It stank of somebody else's garbage from somebody else's unit. Somebody laughed. He kept digging. He came up with the cookie tin, a bundle of letters with a rubber band around them, a small wooden box about the size of a deck of cards. Dale was not laughing. Wade could see him over the rim of the bin, standing by the tool chest, pen in his hand, writing down numbers. Wade climbed out. He walked over and crouched down and held the tin out to her. Ruth looked at it. She did not take it. "You keep that," she said. Something in the way she said it made Wade look up at her face. It was not the voice of a woman giving away a piece of junk. It was the voice of a woman who had just decided something. Decided it fast. And was not going to be talked out of it. By 11, the yard had mostly cleared out. Dale had a man with a flatbed loading the good pile. The bad pile was still sitting where it had been left. Ruth had gone home in a taxi, a photograph frame and a coffee can of screws in her lap. Wade waited until the flatbed was almost full. "The tool chest," he said. Dale turned around with his receipt book still in his hand. "It's a Snap-on, 1980s, tall box. Drawers are taped because the slides are shot, but the slides are always shot. I know what it is. What do you want for it?" Dale looked at him a second. Wade watched him do the arithmetic. It took him no time at all. He had just spent 20 minutes counting it out loud in front of the whole yard. $2,200, Dale said. Wade paid him. He made 2 trips, one for the chest, one for the letters and the small wooden box and the tin. By the time he got the tailgate up, his shirt was through. Dale watched him do all of it. Wade was getting into the cab. Dale came over and put a hand on the doorframe. Friendly, the way a man does when he wants to say one more thing. "No hard feelings," he said. "It's a business." "Sure. Your daddy understood that." "He did," Wade said. "He also never bid in hundreds." He pulled out onto Gantry Road and did not look in the mirror. The shop was closed by the time he got back. That was fine. It had been closed most Saturdays that year anyway. He got the chest down the ramp on the hand truck. He left it in the middle of the floor, between the record bins and the shelf of costume jewelry nobody had touched since spring. Then he sat down on an upturned milk crate. He counted what was in his pocket. Nothing. That was the count. He had gone to an auction with everything. He had come back with a tool chest with taped drawers and a bad mattress worth of somebody else's cardboard. Above the front window, his father's sign said Mercer and Son. The gold leaf had gone the color of weak tea. Wade had been meaning to have it redone for 9 years and meaning to take the second half off for 6. He got up and got the cookie tin off the counter. The rubber band broke when he touched it. He pried the lid with his thumbnail. It came off with that little suck of air that old tins make. Postcards. Not letters. Postcards. The cheap kind you buy off a wire rack at a drugstore. They were stacked on their sides in 2 rows, and they filled the tin exactly. He took them out and fanned them across the counter. Every one of them had a stamp on it. Every single one. And not one of them had a postmark. Wade stood there a while, with his hands flat on the counter. Then he started sorting them, the way he sorted everything, by the only thing he could see. And the only thing he could see was the date in the corner of the writing. They went by year. 1 a year. Always the same date, the 9th of June. The handwriting was the same all the way through. It got worse as it went, tighter and more careful at the start, looser and shakier by the end. That was how he could put them in order without reading a word. 31 of them. The addresses were what got him. The early ones went to an apartment on Delcher Street, Unit 4. Then a few years of the same apartment. Then a small office on Marsh, 2nd floor, above what Wade was fairly sure used to be a print shop. Then a place out in the industrial park by the water tower. Then a bigger one. And the last 4 all went to the same place. 1 Riverfront Plaza, floor 42. Wade knew that building. Everybody in Halford knew that building. It was the only one in town with its own bridge. He turned a few of them over. They were short. None of them ran more than 4 lines. There was no apology in any of them. There was nothing asked for in any of them either. That was somehow the hardest part. The pipes are fine now. The man came out twice. I saw a truck of yours on the interstate near Delaware. It was clean. I am well. The tomatoes did nothing this year. I put in peppers instead. Happy birthday. Wade read 6 of them and stopped. It had started to feel like standing in somebody's kitchen. He put them back in the tin in order. Then he called Ridgeline and got the recording. He listened to the whole thing twice to be sure. Purchasers have 24 hours to clear a unit. Contents left on the pad after 48 hours are disposed of by the facility. Saturday morning plus 48 hours was Monday morning. Ridgeline ran its haul out to the county on Monday afternoons. He had watched that truck come through the gate 100 times. He looked at the clock over the door. 10 minutes past 4 on a Saturday afternoon. Everything Ruth Calloway could not carry to a taxi was sitting on that concrete, right now. On Monday, it was going into a truck and out to the county landfill. There was not a thing in the world Wade could do about it. He had no money, no standing, no reason on earth for anybody to listen to him. He took the top postcard out of the tin. He put it in his shirt pocket. Then he stood at the window and looked out at Gantry Road. A white trailer was going by with a name across the side in blue letters. The same name he had watched go up and down that road every morning. 11 years. He had never once read it. He read it now. It was the name on the last 4 postcards. Sunday was a wall. He called the main line 11 times. A recording answered every time. A pleasant voice. The offices were closed. He called the storage place and got a different recording. At 2 in the morning, he was standing in his own shop, holding a postcard. He had never felt more useless in his life. On Monday, he was parked outside 1 Riverfront Plaza at 20 past 6. The building opened at 7. He waited in the truck and watched the glass go from black to gray to gold. At 5 after 7, he walked in. He had his work coat on with the sleeves rolled. He had cut both forearms up climbing into that bin. The scabs had gone to the ugly stage. The lobby was the size of a church. There was a woman behind a long desk of pale stone with a headset around her neck. A sign in front of her said all visitors must be pre-registered. "Good morning," she said. "Who are you here to see?" "N. Calloway." "Do you have an appointment?" "No, ma'am." "I'm sorry, sir. We can't send anybody up without an appointment." She said it kindly. There was nothing at all wrong with the way she said it. "If you leave your name and a number, I can pass it to her assistant." Wade stood there, and he understood with a clarity that turned his stomach. that this was the same sentence. Different building, different woman, better carpet. Exact same sentence. He had watched it get used on Saturday, and here it was again. Everybody using it was decent. It worked perfectly every time. He did not argue. He took the postcard out of his shirt pocket and set it on the stone in front of her. "That's from her mother," he said. "There's 30 more where that came from. If she wants them, I'm in the lot." He was almost at the door when she said, "Sir?" She had the card in both hands. She was not reading the front of it. She was looking at the handwriting on the back, at the address, at the way the letters leaned. "Where did you get this?" "Out of a trash bin at a storage auction." Dana Whitlock put the card down very carefully, like it might go off. Then she crouched behind the desk and pulled open a drawer. She came up with a spiral book, the fat kind, the kind with a carbon page under every line. "I sign for everything that goes up to 42, she said. 9 years. Couriers, flowers, subpoenas, all of it. She was flipping backward fast, wetting her thumb. "In 9 years, do you know how many handwritten things I have signed for going up to that floor?" Wade came back to the desk. "1, she said. She stopped flipping. She turned the book around. There was a line in blue ink, a date 4 years old, and in the description column, in her own handwriting, 3 words. Postcard. No sender. I remember it because there was nothing to scan. No barcode, no envelope, nothing." Dana looked up. "It came in with the invoices. I sat here with it in my hand for about a minute, trying to decide if it was even real. I sent it up, and I never heard one word about it." "I have thought about that card maybe 40 times since, and I could not tell you why." She picked up the phone. Wade did not hear what she said into it. He heard about 6 words, and then she turned away. Then she hung up and looked at the elevators and did not say anything else. The two of them stood there in that enormous quiet lobby together for 4 minutes. Upstairs, Noelle Calloway opened the second drawer of her desk. Her office had a window that took the whole east wall. She did not have to look for it. She knew where it was. It was under a rubber-banded stack of business cards from a conference she had gone to the year before. It had been in that drawer since the morning it came up. She had read it maybe 9 times and never once picked up a pen. "The tomatoes did nothing this year. I put in peppers instead. Happy birthday." The elevator opened. She came across the lobby fast. Gray suit. No jacket. No assistant behind her. She went straight past the desk to Wade. She did not ask him who he was. She did not ask what he wanted, or how he got the card, or what he was doing in her building at 7 in the morning. She said, "Where is my mother?" "She's at home," Wade said. "I think. She took a cab Saturday." Saturday. So he told her. He kept it short. He could see what it was doing to her, and there was no reason to draw it out. The unit, the number, the office door and the sign on it, the bidding in hundreds, the door going up. He got as far as the mini fridge. Dale setting it down on the concrete, opening it, holding the box of baking soda up over his head. Noelle put her hand flat on the stone desk. "Stop," she said. He stopped. She turned away from him and made a call. 3 sentences. While her back was turned, Dana Whitlock leaned across the desk. "Do you know who that is?" she said quietly. "No, ma'am." "That's Noelle Calloway. She runs Torrance Freight." Dana said it evenly, the way you tell somebody the step is higher than it looks. "She started with 1 truck. Her father left her. Her name is on 1,100 of them now. It's on this building. It's on about half the industrial park. There is not a bank in this state that does not take her call. Wade looked out through the glass at the road. One of them was going by right at that moment. Blue letters on white, the same as every morning of his life. Behind him, Noelle finished her call. "That yard," she said, "the one on Gantry, is my mother's property still sitting on it?" Till this afternoon. She was already reaching for her keys.
The truck came in off Gantry at 9:30. It had to swing wide to make the turn. It was a road tractor with a 26-foot box on it. The gate at Ridgeline was built for pickups. There was no motorcade. There was no assistant. Noelle Calloway climbed down out of the cab. Same gray suit. A pair of work gloves in her back pocket. She went around and rolled up the back of the box herself. The sound of that door going up was the exact same sound. A storage door going up. Nobody said it out loud. Everybody heard it. Her mother came around the other side of the tractor. She held the mirror bracket for balance. Ruth had put on a different coat. The yard noticed the name on the truck before it noticed the woman. That was how it went. Marty read the blue letters out loud without meaning to. Torrance Freight. The way you read a sign you have driven past 10,000 times. Then he heard himself say it and stopped. Two other people turned around. Then the whole loading lane went quiet. About the time it takes to set down a cup, Dale Rusk was standing next to his flatbed with a moving blanket over one arm. Noelle did not go to him. She did not look at him. She walked past the front of his truck, close enough that he had to take a half step back. She did not turn her head. She pulled the gloves out of her pocket and put them on as she walked. Then she crouched down at the edge of the leftover pile. She picked up a box. Wade took the other end of it. They worked 20 minutes without saying much. Ruth sat in one of the folding chairs from her own unit. She told them which ones mattered. That one, not that one. That one, and be careful. The bottom is soft. She was not sentimental about it. She had the manner of a woman running a job site. Twice, she told her daughter she was lifting wrong. Lorne Petty came out of the office and stood on the concrete step. He stayed there a long while, long enough that Wade noticed him, went back to work, and noticed him again. Still standing there, holding the door frame with one hand. Then he came down off the step. "Ma'am," he said, to Ruth, not to Noelle. "I need to say some things, and I would like to say them out here where everybody is." Ruth folded her hands in her lap. "Mr. Rusk has paid me $200 3 times since March to walk him through units before the sale. Doors up, 5 minutes, nobody around." He swallowed. "That is against every rule this company has. I knew that the first time. I took it anyway." Nobody moved. "He asked me to put B14 first on Saturday's sheet, instead of running the row in order. I did that." He looked at the office window. "And the sign, Saturday. He didn't ask for that one. I did that myself. I had already done the other 2 things, and it seemed like the same kind of thing." Dale set the moving blanket down on the tailgate. "And there's a 4th one," Lorne said. "This one is only me." He looked at his shoes. "Every notice that went out on that unit went out to R. Calloway. Every one. The demand letter, the lien notice, the sale notice, the newspaper ad. All of them. All to Raymond Calloway."
He looked up. Mrs. Calloway told me her husband passed in the first week I worked here. She told me at that front counter in October. I remember it because she said the name of the funeral home, and I know the family. Wade heard Noelle set a box down on the concrete, very slowly. I knew who was actually renting that space, Lorne said. And I sent every letter to a man who has been dead 9 years. And I sold her property off the pad on a Saturday morning. For a second, the only sound in the yard was somebody's radio 2 rows over. Noelle straightened up. She peeled one glove off. She took her phone out and stepped away and made a call. Wade heard exactly 3 sentences of it, and every one of them was calm. I need Ellis. Today, not Wednesday. Have him come to Gantry Road. Hang it up, Ruth said. Noelle turned around. Mama. Hang it up. Do you understand what he just said out loud in front of witnesses? Noelle's voice cracked on the last word, and she pulled it back in. Do you understand what that is? They can't do that. People go to prison for less than that. I have 3 firms on retainer, and I will take this yard apart, down to the fence posts. I know you will, Ruth said. That's why I'm telling you to hang it up. Why? Ruth looked around. At the concrete. At the orange doors. At the 20 feet of her own belongings still sitting in the sun. Because I stood on this pad 3 months in a row, she said, and nobody had to listen to me. Not one of them. And it was legal every single time. She smoothed her coat over her knees. Now I have got a lawyer coming because of who my daughter turned out to be. If I use that, then everything they thought about me on Saturday was right. I am not going to win this with a thing I did not have when I needed it. Noelle stood there with the phone in her hand. Mama, I would have come. I know. You wrote to me. Once. 4 years ago. She was not shouting. She had gone down instead of up, which was worse. I still have it. It's in my desk. I sat there and I looked at it. I decided I would answer it that weekend. And then I did not. And then a month went by. And then it got too big to answer it all. I know that too, Ruth said. That's how I knew it got there. Noelle's face went. That's why I stopped mailing them, Ruth said. Not because you didn't write back. Because you didn't. And I understood exactly why. And I did not want to make you carry one of those every June for the rest of your life. Behind them, Dale Rusk got into his truck. He shut the door. He did not start it. He sat in there with both hands on the wheel. His man finished strapping the load. When the flatbed finally pulled out through the gate, he followed it, slowly. Nobody in the yard waved. Ruth watched him go. Then she turned to Lorne. He was still standing there with nothing to do with his hands. Young man, she said, how much room is left in B14? Lorne did not understand the question. Dale Rusk did not bid again in that county. Not out of shame, not because anybody punished him. By Wednesday, the auction company had pulled his name off the approved bidder list. They ran Ridgeline and 3 other yards in the valley. Their lawyer read Lorne Petty's statement. He told them in plain language, they could not afford to have that man standing on their pads. He kept his 3 stores. He simply had nowhere left to buy. Lorne was let go on Thursday. He had known it was coming when he came down off that step. He came down anyway. 3 weeks later, the door of B14 went up again. This time, it was Ruth who put it up. She had the new key on a loop of string around her wrist. She had a list. Wade brought the hand truck. Noelle came in work clothes and stayed the whole day. Ruth kept one box. She went through all of it herself. She sat on a folding chair in the doorway. The sun came in past her shoulder. She made the call on every single item. The chairs went to the church on Delcher. The mattress went to the dump, and she did not blink. Ray's good winter coat went to a man 2 rows over. He had been living in his unit since February. Everybody at Ridgeline knew about it, and nobody had ever said it out loud. Around 4, Noelle set down the box she was carrying. "Mama, the postcards." Ruth did not look up from the chair. "I would like to have them," Noelle said. "All of them. I'll have them put in a case. I will do it properly." Wade found something to do at the other end of the unit. "No," Ruth said. Noelle stood there in the doorway with her hands hanging. 31 of them, Mama. 31 years. Ruth folded the list in half and put it in her coat pocket. You want to sit down one afternoon and read 31 years and be finished with it by supper. I know exactly why you want that. I would want it too. She looked up then. You do not get to have it. Those were mine. I wrote them at my kitchen table with the radio on. I put a stamp on every one of them, and I decided every single June not to send it. That is 31 decisions, and you were not there for any of them. That's not fair. No, Ruth agreed. It is not. Noelle's jaw moved. You get the next one, Ruth said, and the one after that. You get every June from here out. I will be the one who mails them, and you will have to wait for them the way people wait for things. That is what I have got. That is the whole of it. Nobody said anything for a while. Out on gantry, a truck went by. Both of them heard it. Neither of them said whose it was. At the end of the afternoon, Ruth took the key off the string. She held it out to Wade. The lease is paid through next June, she said. It's in your name at the counter already. I did it Tuesday. Ma'am, I can't take that. Your shop has no back room. You keep your stock in the aisle. There has been a bird bath in your doorway since spring. She kept holding it out. A man cannot buy at auction with nowhere to put what he buys. I am not giving you a present. I am giving you a room. Still, on Saturday, you put every dollar you had on a counter for a woman you had known 11 minutes, and I let you. She put the key in his hand and closed his fingers on it, the same way she had done with the money. Giving is the easy half. It costs money, and it costs nothing else. I have been bad at the other half for 9 years. It has cost me a great deal more than what you put down. He took the key. By then, the sign was gone from the office window. Not thrown out, exactly. It simply was not there anymore. It did not come back, and nobody at Ridgeline ever announced anything about it. The next month's sale was on a Saturday, like all of them. Wade stood in the line with a cup going cold in his hand. Beside him was a kid from 2 counties over. He had driven up with a lot of opinions. Look at this row, the kid said. It's all junk. It's people's junk. The auctioneer got his flashlight out. Everything in there is somebody's whole life, Wade said, until the door goes up. He did not say it the way Dale used to. He was not trying to be funny. The kid looked at him sideways, the way you look at a man who has said something you will understand in about 15 years. Across town that same afternoon, a truck sat at the curb, corner of Gantry and 9th, engine off. Noelle had a postcard on her knee. It had the county courthouse on the front. That was the only kind the drugstore on the corner sold. She had been working on the back of it for 11 minutes. She had 4 lines to show for it. No apology, nothing asked for. She had learned the form from a teacher. Her mother was in the passenger seat, with her hands in her lap. "You could just hand it to me," Ruth said.
I know. I am right here. I am 18 inches away from you. I know that, Mama. Noelle got out. She walked 10 steps to the blue mailbox on the corner. She stood there a second. She put the card in and let the flaps swing shut. Ruth watched her through the windshield and did not say one word. There was not a word in the language for what that was. Both of them knew it. And it was going to come in the mail on Thursday anyway.
If there is somebody you have been meaning to write back to, go and do it. Do it before this year turns over. And tell us in the comments who you thought of just now, because you thought of somebody. Monday morning, Wade came out to the yard early. He had the hand truck, a load of chipped enamelware from an estate up on Colton. He stopped in front of B14 and set his coffee down on the pavement. Then he crouched and got his fingers under the bottom edge of the door and lifted.